Mr. President, on a separate issue, I want to say a word about some nominations that are pending before the Senate this week. As the ranking Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee, I pay closer attention than some when it comes to the nominees who are suggested for federal positions on the courts. These are positions that are lifetime positions. You take a person and you say, we entrust you with this responsibility and authority for as long as you live. As long as you live. So it isn't a question of 2 years or 4 years and replacing someone if they aren't up to the job. We've got to look for people that we can trust in the long haul. The Senate will soon vote on the confirmations of Joshua Devine to serve as judge on the Eastern and Western Districts of Missouri and Judge Cristian Stevens to serve on the Eastern District. I'm concerned about these two nominees. Mr. Devine is 34 years old. He received his law degree only 9 years ago. In addition to lack of experience, Mr. Devine has taken some extreme positions on issues that are important to people across the United States, such as reproductive rights and ballot access. Mr. Devine, if you can believe this, in this day and age, 2025, has argued in favor of literacy tests at the ballot box. Let me say that again. He's argued in favor of literacy tests at the ballot box. He states, quote, individuals who aren't informed about issues or platforms have no business voting. The fact that we are even considering his nomination under this circumstance is shocking. Literacy tests have been tried in America. They are a racist relic from the Jim Crow era that were used to prevent immigrants and minorities from voting. It should not be controversial to say that no one who has argued for reviving racist Jim Crow laws belongs on the federal bench, let alone for a lifetime. Mr. Devine also referred to himself as, quote, a zealot, close quote, for the anti-choice movement. Now, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, to think that someone is that blatant and open, declaring himself as a zealot on the issue, should trouble you. This has been on full display in his role as Missouri Solicitor General. Mr. Devine has challenged women's ability to access the abortion drug mifepristone and has undermined the decision of Missouri voters to codify abortion access in their state constitution. Previously, Mr. Devine wrote, and I quote him, because we know a genetically unique human comes into existence at fertilization, abortion should not be ethically permitted, close quote. I know that's the position of some voters that I represent and even some members of my family. I disagree. Taken at face value, this statement suggests that Mr. Devine opposes access to in vitro fertilization, IVF. Well, I have some beautiful grandkids who were the product of these IVF procedures. It was the only way that they could come to this earth, and thank God they did. To think that this man who's seeking this lifetime appointment to the bench would not even answer the question on IVF is troubling. Joshua Devine is too inexperienced to serve as a district court judge, and his radical views, I think, disqualify him. I'm also troubled by the nomination of Cristian Stevens. Following his confirmation hearing, I asked Judge Stevens whether he denounced the January 6th insurrection on the Capitol. For those who don't remember, that was a time when a mob forced Congress to shut down the procedure of counting electoral votes in the 2020 election. As a result of that decision, they stormed the Capitol, came into this chamber, videotaped themselves aping by sitting in the chair of the presiding officer, going through the desks of senators, tearing up the place, and unfortunately attacking a lot of innocent people. I asked Cristian Stevens about the January 6th insurrection. He said the use of the word insurrection was a legal conclusion, and that it would be inappropriate for him to comment on it because it's a highly contested political issue. Here's the cold, hard truth. The violent mob that ransacked the Capitol complex in an attempted insurrection to stop the counting of the votes on that election led to the deaths of 5 police officers and injuries to more than 140 others. It triggered the largest prosecution in the history of the Department of Justice. Over 1,000 individuals were convicted and prosecuted for their activity that day. The fact is, this nominee couldn't acknowledge what happened that day and denounce the violence perpetrated against law enforcement is troubling. If you can't stand up for the men and women that keep us safe at this very moment in this building, who risk their lives for the members, their staff, and the visitors to the Capitol, you have no place in a lifetime position as a federal judge. I'm also concerned about a law review article Judge Cristian Stevens wrote defending the infamous 100-to-1 sentencing disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine. I voted for it in the House of Representatives. Why? The idea was that the crack cocaine was such a deadly and threatening narcotic that we were going to pass a sentencing provision that was really tough. Well, this was tough. It said if you were convicted of possessing powder cocaine or an exact same amount of cocaine in crack form, crystal form, you would be receiving a sentence for the crack cocaine 100 times powder cocaine. What happened as a result of it? The result, I'm sorry to say, it didn't work. You'd think with that kind of sentencing hanging over you, people would think twice. It didn't work. As a result, more people were using crack cocaine after we passed the law, and the price on the street was going down instead of up. We filled federal prisons primarily with African Americans who had lengthy sentences, some of them over 20 years, for the simple sale of crack cocaine. We decided that was wrong. I led the effort here in the Senate side. I'm proud that I did. I was joined by Chuck Grassley, Republican of Iowa, and Mike Lee, Republican of Utah. We passed a bill called the First Step Act, and it was sent to President Trump, who signed it into law in his first term. Now comes Cristian Stevens, Judge Stevens, wanting a seat on the federal bench. I'm concerned about a law review article he wrote defending the 100-to-1 disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine. He wrote, and I quote him, "There may be evidence to suggest these kinds of sentencing provisions are beneficial to black communities hardest hit by crack epidemic." I'm disappointed that Judge Stevens continues to stand by an article that defends the crack powder cocaine sentencing disparity. It was wrong then, it's wrong now. And he's certainly doing no one a favor by supporting that kind of penalty. My Republican colleagues will likely vote for both of these nominees I've described, Mr. Devine and Judge Stevens, on the federal bench without hesitation. But the American people deserve judges who will protect their basic fundamental rights, demonstrate independence and integrity, and remain faithful to the Constitution and rule of law. Neither of these nominees have proven that they embody these attributes. I will vote against both of these nominees, urge my colleagues to do the same. And Mr. President, I yield the floor.